Next up, Richard Perrin.
Okay, just to show how well planned this is, I've realized my talk is going to cover a lot of the same ground that we've had from the last few guys. So hopefully if I say it all again in a polite British accent in some way, it will stick. So I have a problem with video games, and this problem is definitely, really comes to me walking around the show floor, because looking around PAX, there are some amazing, impressive games. But I think it's not going to escape the attention of any of you people here, I'm sure you're all smart people, that we have probably at this point exhausted the amount of ways soldiers can shoot Middle Eastern people, and the way wizards can kill skeletons. So we are producing too much of the same stuff. We are finding an amazing variety of ways of making that fun, but we are still exploring that same space over and over again. Video games is still an immature medium. It has the potential to do so much stuff like any other medium, like most other mediums at this point have really found their niches. Because I know comics were certainly stuck in that niche for a long period of time, just, having lots and lots of superhero comics. But if you look there now, there's some amazing stuff coming out of there. And that's starting to happen with video games, but it's only the beginning. And really, what is going to help change that is you guys here, anyone else around the world who is interested in video games and like me is kind of bored of seeing the same stuff over again. You can help by making games, and I want to tell you now, you can make video games. A lot of you probably think you can't. You looked into it in the past, and you've seen the amount of coding involved, or the art, and all these other things that will easily distract you and make you think you can't do it. But I want to tell you, I am a terrible coder, but I've been making games now for the past 4 or 5 years, and I've found that it's really rewarding. And there are ways around any limitations you think you have that are stopping you from doing it. So the tools now are easier than they've ever been. There are tools like Game Maker, which may get a bad rep for being very simple, but it allows people to get started and experiment with simple ideas. There's a tool came out recently called Stencil that's it's like Game Maker, but it operates in a different way. And again, it's all drag and drop building code in outputs to Flash and iOS. And certainly if you've got some coding experience, Unity is opening up game development, certainly 3D development to make it easier than ever. So I just really advocate people get in there and try making games. And so along those lines, I just want to give you a few tips. If you're thinking about it, if anything that anyone else has said here has made you consider trying it. So here's my tips for getting started with making video games. Don't be the ideas guy. Don't be that guy who says, I've got an amazing idea for a game, but I can't make it. I just need to find a programmer and an artist. Don't be that guy. You need to make games yourself, because before anyone's going to believe in you enough to dump 100 hours of their time into helping you make your game, you need to show them that you're willing to put some time in yourself. And if you can't even make the simplest of game, I don't see why they should believe in you. Don't form teams, and I don't mean this long term. If you want to make a big game, you want to sell it eventually, yeah, sure, you're going to need other people. But if you want to get started, just download the tools and play about with them yourself, because you're going to quickly find that team management is a bitch, and that's not what you want to be learning. You want to be learning how to make games. Ditch the design document. Loads of universities will teach you that's the first step of making games. I don't believe that at all. I think the first step of making games is to make a game. If you make a simple game, the simplest thing, get it working within an hour or two, a day at most, and start iterating, playing with that, you will learn so much more about what you want to do with a game from the time you spend playing it and building it than you will sitting there staring at Word trying to imagine what this amazing game is going to be in your head. This has already been mentioned today, but a tiny scope, make the simplest thing. People said don't clone games. I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think you need to start with a genre you like and sort of try and find your own way of expressing it. Anything you make is going to be infused with your own sense of style and the things that appeal to you. And in fact, I would disagree with one of the things that was said earlier, that not to steal artwork. If you're just making your first few games, like something in Game Maker that you're never going to sell, and you may even not put on the internet, take sprite rips, steal. I probably shouldn't say that, but whatever. No one's going to care. You look what out there in the community. I want to be the guy. It's an amazing game. It's full of massive pirated artwork and music. And so you could. As long as you're not out there selling it, you're just trying to get experience. If you want to make games, as I say, you're not starting off with World of Warcraft. Make something simple. So steal, bribe, borrow from wherever you have to. And so I want to give you one game design lesson. And the most important thing I think everyone needs to know about game design is that there are no rules to game design. Everything that might be, if you read around the internet, loads of people have lots of advice and lots of things that have worked for them. But every rule you could ever express about game design, even a basic one like a game has to be fun, you can always find counterexamples, games that have gone in a different direction and found that they can throw that rule away and still be an amazing experience. Ultimately, you shouldn't be drawn too much by examples what other people have done. You need to be finding your own voice. And that's what's most important to me about this, is that if games are going to get out of where they are now, we need a huge variety of people doing them. There's I've been here on PAX show floor. Not everyone here is the gamer stereotype. There is a lot of people, with different experiences, and we can all bring this to the table and do new things that we haven't seen before. It doesn't have to be guns and skeletons and wizards and all that kind of stuff. And so the final thing I want to say is that all advice is autobiographical. Everything I'm telling you now is the stuff I hope I wish looking back someone had told me this. I've wasted years not following this advice, and this is the stuff I've come to now. But what that also means is that, this applies to me. This is what I think's right. But, if this doesn't work for you, just ignore it. I mean, I'm just talking bullshit. Do whatever you want. Ignore anything any of us have said here that you don't agree with, and try and find your own way, because I want you to make the games that are yours and not the games that are anyone else's. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. That was awesome.